I got into anti-squatting work when my house was occupied. While in Morocco, friends across the street called and said, "There are people in our house." And 2 or 3 hours later, I was already back here. I took a plane and came back, and we kicked them out by force.
Have you suffered consequences for being a Moroccan who does this? Yes.
Of course. A lot of people write to me, and a lot of people send me hate, both in the comments and in private messages, saying, "How can a Moroccan evict a fellow countryman?" I've been stabbed here in the thigh. I've been stabbed here. Well, the owner's property has to be returned, no matter what. They don't pay for that.
How do you react when you walk in and see that minors are being prostituted inside a house?
I'm capable of throwing him out the window. If I find someone inside, I'll rip his head off, and I don't care about the consequences. If I have to go to jail for taking revenge and saving the life of a child who's being prostituted, then that's what I have to do. There are families where you see they have a fancy car outside, like an Audi or this or that, and they work. The husband might be a lawyer, maybe a civil guard officer. Yes?
Civil guard officer squatting?
A civil guard officer is squatting, civil guard officer squatting, police officer squatting, lawyer squatting. Here, everyone squats. When you live in a country without law, because when it comes to squatting, there are no laws, you do whatever you want. Everyone does it.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of LA Factoria. Today we have a hot show, a show with a figure who is causing a lot of buzz on social media because he is, let's say, someone who doesn't leave anyone indifferent. We have a Moroccan who removes squatters, Karam from Comando Desokupa. How are you, Karam? How are you doing? Welcome and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jota, for inviting me.
Thank you, because I also have to say that Comando Desokupa is also an official sponsor of La Violada, and Karam will also be a commentator along with Cesar Green and Green Feets. He will see how I get my face smashed and the rest of the fights. So that's it. He has a background in martial arts. He has been European champion, right?
European champion, third in the world.
You want to spar, but you're 40 kilos heavier than me. Should I fight this gorilla or not? Well,
a sparring match. It has to be a light sparring. That's it.
No, man, you hit me now while I'm dropping and you're just there doing a light parry.
Light sparring? Man.
Tell me, how did you get into the business of removing squatters?
Well, I got into the world of evicting squatters when someone squatted my own house. What? Yes, for example, every summer I go down to Morocco with my parents. And one day while I'm in Morocco, my friends who live across from me call and say, "Hey, are you back?" I say, "No." They say, "Well, there are people in your house." I say, "What do you mean there are people in my house?" They say, "Yes, there are people in your house. I'm seeing it through the window, etc." And I say, "No, don't call the police." I say, "No, don't call the police." He says to me, "Why?" I say, No, don't call the police." And 2 hours, 3 hours later, I was already back here. I took a plane and I was back here and we beat them out of there. Beat them out? Why? If we called the police, there'd be legal action and I would have lost my house. And our house belongs to my parents. So of course we kicked them out by force, and since then that stayed with me. I was left with that sadness, and there came a moment when, thank God, God put a blessing of a man in my path, who to this day is like a brother to me. So from there, the whole issue of squatting came up, like, let's start something, let's set something up, and that's how Comando Desokupa started.
The blessing is your partner?
I imagine, that's it.
Man, the reality is this. Many people say that squatting has a lot to do with the issue of bank-owned properties. But in your experience in this sector, are you hired more by private individuals or by companies?
Most are private individuals. 90% are private individuals. 10% already buy the occupied house from the bank. But 95% are private individuals who own their own apartments and have them taken over by squatters. And many of them are Moroccans. Many of them are Moroccans who have their house occupied by other Moroccans or by people of other nationalities.
What's the most common squatter profile?
All kinds. There are all kinds. There are Latinos, there are Spaniards. What I have come across a lot are Colombians and Moroccans. With Moroccans a lot as well. I was among Moroccans.
Have you suffered consequences for being a Moroccan who works in removing squatters?
Many people write to me, and many also throw hate my way. Both in the comments and in private messages, people say things like, how can a Moroccan do this to a fellow Moroccan?
But I don't understand that reasoning.
I don't understand it either because we, let's say we Moroccans, are united and always support each other. But of course, I can't support what's wrong. What's wrong is wrong. Squatting is wrong, and taking something from another person that belongs to them, something they've worked for years to achieve with their sweat and effort, I won't allow that, nor will I support it. Because, as I said, evil comes from personality, not from nationality. Whether you're Moroccan, Uruguayan, Dominican, it doesn't matter where you're from. Everyone has their own evil inside, and everyone has to take responsibility for their actions. It doesn't have to be a Moroccan supporting another Moroccan, even if they're doing things wrong. No, I only support them.
I agree with that, man. I have a strong Moroccan community following me. And I've always told them, gentlemen, what you can't do is build solidarity and close your eyes to circumstances and situations that are being created by your own countrymen. Because the only thing you're going to do is generate a totally negative effect on the whole group. When everyone who has even a little street smarts and goes out there knows that there are a lot of Moroccans here who are honest people, hardworking people, people who come to contribute, and at the end of the day, they are overshadowed by all the people who do wrong. I think that a voice like yours is extremely important on social media to show that it's possible for Moroccans to live together within Spain, and that obviously not all of them are criminals. For that to happen, people like you must say, just because you're from my country doesn't mean I have to support everything you do. I don't know what you think.
Yes, of course. On the contrary, I should be happy that, hey, look, there's someone from our country who's speaking up for us and showing that not all of us are the same. Because there are millions and millions of Moroccans working day and night to get ahead, and there's a minority that's doing everything they're doing in the country. So, of course, what do you see more? You'll always see the bad more than the good. Well, always. That's true everywhere. You see the bad more than the good. Why? Because nobody sees a Moroccan who gets up at 4 in the morning to work until midnight just to bring 40 or 30 euros home to his kids so they can eat because he doesn't have papers. People don't see that. But yes, obviously, people will notice when a Moroccan or an unaccompanied foreign minor goes out on the street and snatches a purse from an 80-year-old lady. It's normal. It's normal because obviously the bad things are always going to be seen more than the good things. And that's normal. But of course, my fellow countrymen should be happy that, hey, look, one of our own is doing things right and that not all of us are the same.
Totally, man. I want us to talk a little bit about the issue of removing squatters. I want you to tell me some stories from this really curious world because I've seen some of your videos that are just hilarious.
What would be the
Strongest story you've ever seen
experienced
within this?
sector? The strongest one is that we've been shot at several times. One of my colleagues was shot in the calf. Yes, several shots at a house. They fired at us from the windows of the house. And thank God there were no serious injuries. Only one of my colleagues got hit in the calf. Since we were recording, we recorded everything, called the police, and they were taken into custody. When they were taken into custody, we took possession. So we got a 2-for-1.
Damn, I mean, the police can't intervene, but once there's evidence that there are firearms, it's immediate.
Yeah, of course, because that's already a crime. I mean, look, they've tried to kill you. So you get arrested.
But maybe you wouldn't be here talking to me.
No, of course, definitely not. And those are, let's say, the worst ones. But there are many others. There are many others. I've been stabbed and my colleagues have been stabbed, and here we are.
Dude, have you been stabbed?
Yeah, of course, here we are. We're still here. I've been stabbed in the back. I've been stabbed here in the thigh. I've been stabbed here. But of course, we have to recover the owner's home, no matter what. That's what they pay us for.
That's incredible, man. I mean, it's no joke.
No, not at all. People see it from the outside. And of course, there are videos we can't upload. Videos we can't upload. Either they can seriously harm us, or TikTok will directly ban you or delete your account.
The people who tend to be more violent, stabbings, shootings, that kind of violence, almost never come from disadvantaged families, right?
No, not at all. Families usually don't get involved in those things. Obviously, there are families that are aggressive, etc., but they're not going to kill someone or shoot you, and they're not going to stab you either. The one who might stab me is probably someone inside who's growing marijuana or doing shady business inside, of course. He doesn't like when you come to his house, wake him up, and cause trouble.
So, a big part of the squatting business has to do with drug houses.
Drug houses, apartments with girls who are forced into prostitution, and 1,000 other things. I could tell you 1,000 things.
Man, you have the space here to tell everything that's behind it because the reality is that a lot of people just stay on the surface. People think someone squats because they have a need. There are a lot of empty homes in Spain. The market is the way it is. So the price of housing is unaffordable. There are a lot of young people. I'm never going to justify squatting, but the rhetoric, it's about trying to empathize with the rhetoric. That's it. There's no possibility for young people to get housing, so we move into bank owned houses. But the reality is that many times that way of seeing things ends up hurting a lot of property owners. So I want to know which profile is the most dangerous. Are they people with addiction problems? Are they people with...
They are people with addiction problems. Are they drug houses? They are apartments with girls in them. They are apartments where we've even found minors, where there are children being forced into prostitution, both boys and girls. And we have to get them out of there. Of course, that's when I lose my head and go in like a bull, kick the door in and beat the hell out of everyone as I throw them out. Imagine kids who might be 13 years old, 12 years old, and they're being forced into prostitution. Those are things you experience from the inside. You can't experience them from the outside. You can't see them from the outside, but from the inside you do. And they stay here. They stay in your head. Like maybe you're at home and you get a message from an 11-year-old kid and he says, look, I have this problem. They're abusing me in this house and I'm here in this house and they're abusing me and so on and so on. Let's see if you can help me. Imagine how you feel. You go blank. You're in shock. And of course, that's when you have to start investigating and investigating and investigating. Investigate so you can help that poor person. The issue of squatting is quite complicated. And I'm telling you, 70% of the cases we have are not families. They're not families. They're either Moroccans who do what they do, or Dominicans who do what they do, or gypsies and things like that. There are all kinds. There are 70. The apartments are occupied by illegals, completely illegal.
How do you react when you walk in and see that minors are being forced into prostitution inside a house?
I'm capable of throwing him out the window. Whoever I find, I take his head off, and I don't care about the consequences. If I have to go to jail for getting revenge and saving the life of a child they're prostituting, I'll kill whoever I have to, and I'll go to jail with my head held high and smiling. But at least I leave knowing that, look, my life is in prison, but I saved a 12 or 13-year-old child. He gets his life back and has a lot of life ahead of him. At that point, I don't make any distinctions. If I have to throw you out the window or kill you to help a child, I'll do it without thinking. This is really tough, huh?
As for that, yes, I knew drugs were being sold, that there was addiction, that they trashed the properties, but I never imagined that children could be prostituted inside these squatted houses. It seems really brutal to me. And that makes it so much more valuable that you not only recover the property, but also get those children out of those circumstances. Although I would like to ask you, what happens when there are children in these circumstances and you arrive? Who do these children end up with?
In those cases, we have to call the police and social workers so they can take care of them. But many children are already traumatized. Man, many children have a long road ahead of them to recover mentally and reclaim their childhood. Yeah, that's a childhood and adolescence you must recover, but it's hard when your mind is already broken. So, of course, the good thing is that they're already out of that, but they still have a lot of work ahead of them, both mentally and physically, to try to socialize and understand that the outside world isn't like life in those houses. There are good and bad people in the world. We can at least be happy we helped each other as much as we could.
When you entered this world, did you imagine it would be so sordid, so murky?
No, not at all. I thought it was just knocking on a few doors, asking if they're leaving or handling access control. I didn't expect it to be so personal. I already take it as something very personal. Every squatter removal, very personal. Whether there are children or they're taking the apartment from an 80-year-old lady, I take it personally and won't feel satisfied until they're gone. and they leave. They always leave. With Comando Desokupa, they leave.
You've told me what the toughest case was, but from the squatter's perspective, what has been the toughest case and where have you seen the most pain, but from the owner's perspective?
From the owner's side, it's when an 80-year-old lady calls you, an 80 or 85-year-old woman, and she says, listen, son, look, I don't even have a euro. And it's true. There are elderly people who don't have money and have a miserable pension that just gets them by day to day. And the only thing they've managed to get in their life is an apartment they've worked for with their sweat and effort, only for someone else to come and take it away. And she says, look, please, son, I don't have any money. Maybe you can help me with this. And obviously, I can't hang up the phone. I can't say no. And I do it gladly and completely free of charge.
And of course, these people don't actually own the property. What they have is maybe their pension and this rental income. Have they stopped receiving rent, or has someone occupied their house?
Yes, or maybe they rented it out and the tenants stop paying rent but keep living there, or someone else just moves in and occupies it. Maybe the lady is living with her children or she's in a nursing home and the only thing she has is the house and they take it away from her. They take it from her, of course. She calls you and says, please, son, I went to talk to them. Then they report her for coercion, threats, or harassment, and she gets arrested.
The elderly lady?
The elderly lady, the owner. She is both the owner and an 80-year-old lady. What is she going to, what is an 80-year-old lady going to do to you? Let's suppose that, and then here comes an 80-year-old lady. Even if she threatens me, insults me, does whatever, she's an 80-year-old lady. You can't take her seriously. She's an 80-year-old woman who's not going to do anything. She's simply upset after losing her apartment. That's all. She's lost the property her husband fought for all his life. Maybe her husband left it to her, who worked day and night to pay for it with the sweat of his brow. She's just trying to get it back, but then you report her, and the state and police come and arrest her. And they arrest the lady? It doesn't make any sense. Let's say they arrest someone who's 20, 30, 40, or 50 years old, and you say, hey, there's a risk that maybe the squatters might retaliate. But an 80-year-old lady who's walking with a cane, who can barely walk, or who just had hip surgery, and you take her into custody, what sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense at all. So, of course, that stays in your mind. Like when a lady calls you and says, please help me with this or that. Of course, you go, well, I go like a lion. I go like a lion, you know? Like imagine a lion that hasn't eaten in a week and sees a gazelle. That's how it is for me. When they call me in those situations, I see the gazelle and I go for it no matter what, whatever it takes. And I get it back. Why? Because I don't give up. If it's not with one thing, it's with another. But I keep trying, I keep insisting, and sooner or later, they're going to come out. Sooner or later, they're going to come out of there.
Has there ever been a situation where you ended up empathizing with the person who was squatting there?
Yes, of course, several of them. In fact, there on our social media, for example, a Colombian woman who had just arrived from Colombia with her 2 young daughters, and one of them was pregnant. And someone sold her the apartment, telling her it belonged to a bank for 5,000 euros. Of course.
They tricked her.
Exactly when she came in, and not even an hour passed before the owner arrived. The owner arrived, touched her, and asked, "What are you doing?" after the alarm went off and alerted the neighbors. No, they sent me to this apartment. They sold me the apartment. Of course, imagine a lady with her 2 young children, one who just arrived the same day from Colombia to an apartment. They tell her, "Here, go in," and she just paid 5,000 euros. All her savings, of course. 5,000 euros from here are not just 5,000 euros. You have to save and save and save to come here and give 5,000 euros just to get scammed. And you go inside and say, "Where do I go now?" And the owner calls me and explains the situation to me. What happens? I never pay attention. First, when it comes to squatters, I always go to help the owner, because the owner is always the one who has the right and is in the right. But obviously you come across cases that are a bit more complicated. I went and the lady explained it to me. She explained it with evidence and she couldn't stop crying. She couldn't stop crying. And obviously I offered her money from my own pocket. From my own pocket for what? To help her. We don't pay squatters. I've never paid a squatter. But if I can help another person whom I see has truly been scammed and is really having a hard time,
Yes, there are all kinds of cases. There are people who profit from the squatting business, scamming other vulnerable people, giving them or renting them places. No, 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 this belongs to the bank. I'll rent it to you. I'll handle it for you. I mean, it's just outrageous.
Man, so I gave him part of the money and said, I'll help you move. I'll take you to the hostel where you're going to stay, this and that. I also spoke with a friend who owns a real estate agency to help you find a rental. You can pay for it calmly while job hunting, etc., etc., etc. And thank God we've also been able to help him. But like I said, not all. No, not all of them are. Not all squatters are bad, but 90% are scum. Yes.
But because 90% tend to be, like you described to me before, these cases tend to be fewer.
90% are scum. There are many who are labeled vulnerable only on paper, but they have more money than you and me, and they live.
Tell me about the case of a family.
Families you see with a fancy car like an Audi and other things, and they work. The husband might be a lawyer, maybe a Guardia civil officer. Yes, Guardia civil officers squatting, Guardia civil officers squatting, police officers occupying, lawyers occupying. Here, everyone, when you live in a country without, because in squatting there are no laws. You do whatever you want, everyone does it, everyone squats in an apartment, lawyers, Guardia civil officers, police officers, everyone. Obviously not everyone, that's clear, but I've come across all kinds of things and not everything. You get home and you start thinking, hey, am I living a dream or is this real? It's completely real. Es completamente real. Of course, just imagine that you have to go evict a police officer who's squatting in a house. Think about what that involves.
Tell me about it.
And knowing,
Share it with us here in the La Factoria community. I think it's because you surprised me. I'd never heard this before. Yes.
well, look, let me tell you. One time we went to a police officer's house. Let's see. Well, it was the owner's house, but a police officer was living there, a police officer was occupying it, and the police officer, obviously, exactly, was laughing. Like, yeah, like, how are we gonna kick him out? We're nothing. He's the law. But supposedly, I mean, you're supposed to protect Pablo, not to take advantage of him. I like being here to take advantage of the public, of course. Just imagine if a colleague calls you and that colleague comes over there. Of course, thank God, many of his colleagues help us and agree with us, and they also try to talk to him. But of course, there are others who support as well, like me. I have a friend, I'm a police officer, and I have a friend who's also a police officer, and my friend is squatting in an apartment. I'm not going to call him out in front of you.
I talked to him about it privately.
Of course, but in front of you. I tell him he's right, that you guys can't be here, that I'm going to take you in, and so on and so on. And they're giving me a hard time, and we've managed to get him out. How?
Karam's laugh. I don't know if you agree with me. There are a few little secrets I can share here.
Of course, there are things you just can't do anymore, but like I said, it's a case that just gets out of your hands. You have to go beyond limits, and I go beyond them. To recover a property, I go beyond all the necessary limits, always the necessary ones. Like I said, if I have to go to jail to get someone's home back, I'll go, no problem. I'll go happily. I'll get out. I'll get out. What will they sentence me to? 6 months? 1 day is nothing. I can handle it and get through it. Yes, I have. Someone is happy to have their property back. Some people have families, children, or are elderly, like 80-year-old women. How can you just stay calm at home knowing that? Imagine the lady calls you. She hires you yesterday and calls you this morning. How are you, son? Any news? An 80-year-old woman doesn't understand what's happening. How is she supposed to understand? No, mom, this takes time, and so on. And we have one of the best averages, let's say. We have some of the best average turnaround times. In 25 or 30 days, we've already gotten your apartment back for you.
But that's very likely. Generally, that's a bit more complicated process.
Of course. And let's say we have 25 or 30 days, which is a very, very, very fast time frame. Man, we've had cases where we've recovered them in an hour, others in a week, and others in 2 months, but our average is 25 days. There?
Of course. And there are some cases that must have gotten complicated for you too, I imagine. Of course.
And maybe they won't open the door for you, and you have to go and insist. As I said, how do you explain it to an 80-year-old lady? She calls you in the morning and she asks, how are you, son? Any news? Yesterday I said, no, mom, we're still working on it. Then in the afternoon, she asks again, how are you? Any news? And she calls again at night. How do you give her answers to that lady? Obviously, you have to tell her. I say, mom, they'll be gone in a month. And I often tell her just like that. She calls and asks, how's it going? Is it done yet? I say no, I haven't agreed with him. In a month he'll be gone, and maybe I haven't even seen him, but I'm sure he'll be gone then. I can make you a promise without even having visited the owner or the squatter, because I'm confident in my work, and I know that in a month he'll be gone. In a month he'll be gone.
What's the process to evict them? I mean, how do you deal with the squatter? From the moment the owner hires you until the squatter leaves, how does that process work?
Well, look, first they contact us. We explain everything to them, the procedures, the payments, and so on. And once they pay us, within 2 or 3 days, we're there at the house, wherever it is, in 2 or 3 days. That's what. We try to help the owner by going as quickly as possible and starting it as soon as possible. For the eviction, if the owner hires you, you don't tell him, no, I'll come in a month. Well, yes, the poor guy, imagine he says, oh, I have to wait a month until they go, however long it takes to evict him. So we try to help as much as possible. And one way is in 2 or 3 days, we're there, wherever it is, whichever part of Spain it is. After that, we make first contact with the squatter, okay? First, we see what kind of squatter they are. If they're problematic, if they're not problematic, if they want to reach an agreement, if they don't want to reach an agreement. The agreement is always about time, never about money. Because paying the squatter encourages squatting and encourages crime. And Comando Desokupa doesn't do that. So first we make initial contact with him. We see what kind of squatter they are. If they want to reach an agreement or not, after that, if they reach an agreement, a contract is signed. Like, look, in 25, 30 days you leave. We always try to keep it as short as possible, but obviously there are things like the kids in school, or they have this or that going on with the move. And I say, come on, let's leave it at 20 days. No, that's not much. I know, it stays at 25 or 30 days. And if not, if they don't reach an agreement, the worst thing they can do, because trouble is coming their way, every day. We're there every day. We're being a pain there every day. We're going to the schools, to the kids' schools. I've gone to the kids' schools 1,000 times to talk to the teachers, to talk to the kids, with the kids' classmates, to talk to everyone, to absolutely everyone.
But what do you mean to the school to talk to the kids?
But what do you have to do? Yes, of course, that kid, his father is just a squatter, and they come and live, occupying a house that belongs to an owner. Yes, that's right. Of course, that's what we have to do. We have to do as much as possible so that they leave. The final case is access control. Access control was set up with a security company, fully certified and completely legal. They're at the entrance, and once they leave, they don't return. But like I said, the access control, we've done it about 3 times since I've been with the company. Goodbye, I'm coming for you.
Because you do it first?
Because they always leave first.
His face, that smile looks so nasty.
They always leave first, Jota. They always leave first. Always leave first. And him and those, and out of those 3 times we've done the access control, 2 were because the owner requested it. No, please, I don't want to wait for this or that. Just do the access control for me now, and we'll do it. But they always leave before the access control. They know they'll leave, so it's a waste of time.
Has there been any that you haven't managed to vacate?
As of today? None.
All. Why?
Why? Because we keep going and we never consider any case abandoned. Do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe one of them gets complicated for us. I don't say, oh, no, I'm not going anymore. No, I keep going. You have to insist. If you don't insist, you won't get it done. You have to insist, and not abandon any case. So, like I said, sooner or later they leave. So, of course, we always get them out. If it's not in a week, it's in a month. And if it's not within a month, it won't be 2 months. But we always get them out.
Karam, man, I need to ask you something. Everything you're describing sounds dangerous. Shootings and stabbings. What kind of person do you need to accompany you on these adventures to expose themselves to these circumstances? And I'd also like to know a little bit about how you got the guts. Who are you? A little bit about your background, your story. Because, of course, I don't think this is a job that's suitable for everyone.
No, of course not. Well, first to go with me. On this journey, if you see it in my videos, there's always a dark-skinned guy who is Senegalese. Greetings, Fatih. That's my best friend, my right hand man. He's always been with me through the worst and the bad, the good and the really bad. The thing is, I need someone I can see. Absolute loyalty. For me, loyalty is very important, and I don't, if you're not loyal, I'm not loyal to you either. I can't have you by my side. It has to be mutual loyalty, and I need to feel that you're by my side. For what? Why? My life and my matters are in your hands. I can't trust just anyone. For example, everyone who works with me, they're all my friends. They're all friends. It's not like they're just employees where you say, hey, look, I'll hire you to go do this. No, 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 they're always friends. I have that bond of friendship and loyalty, so I can feel comfortable at work.
So, does any friend of yours count? I imagine not. Anyone.
Yeah, I hang out. If they're mine, I have a lot of acquaintances. You, I call you a friend if you deserve it, if you're worth it. I don't call you a friend for nothing. I mean,
You have to have certain qualities. Someone has to have certain qualities to be your friend.
the first thing is loyalty. Loyalty, that's the most important thing to me. Me, I can be a person. I can be a person. I don't care if they're poor, if they're not poor, if they have money, or if they don't have money. That's it. No, no, for me, the most important thing is loyalty. He has to have absolute loyalty to me, just like I have to him. If a friend of mine calls me right now, tells me we're there, says, hey, I've killed someone, you have to come help me, I'd go without hesitation. That's called loyalty. That's right. It's called loyalty. Even if you see that you're putting yourself in danger, but you don't abandon someone who's been with you, who's always been there for you in tough times, you don't abandon them. For me, that's loyalty, and it's one of the most important pillars for me that someone by my side has to have.
Now, Karam, who are you?
Well, Karam is like a child because on the outside, I look very much like a man, but I also have that inside me. I'm very cheerful. I laugh a lot. I talk a lot. I'm a kid from Karabanchel all my life, from Karabanchel, who grew up in a very humble family, quite humble, but very much myself. And thank God I haven't had luxuries. When I was little, we barely had enough to get by, but what I've always had is a very close family. Thank God and the love of a family have been given to me. They have given me everything necessary, everything a child needs to grow up with values, values that thank God I have. I'm here because of the values I have, the values my parents taught me. And me, and a child who has suffered a lot, both in his childhood and in his life, has suffered quite a bit. That has made me toughen up a little. Explain, go on. What do you mean by toughen up? Toughen up means that after facing hardships and many bad experiences, a person always grows. With a little bit of cleverness and a little bit of mischief, let's not call it malice, let's call it cunning, let's call it cunning.
Malice is a bit of an ugly word.
Let's call it cunning, with a little bit of cunning. Because of course you never had anything and you want everything, so I'm coming for it all.
Well, but I'm going to push back on that. Don't take it the wrong way, okay? But I think there are people who were born with a lot more material possessions who are much poorer than you because you've had the most important thing in this world, which is a united family.
But for me, that's obviously the most important thing I have, but I want to give my family a better life. I'd like to give them what I never had.
And I understand it, and it's totally admirable. It's not a criticism at all, but at the end of the day, when someone has a family, someone has a treasure,
That's true.
that's very important. That's what people get confused about nowadays, thinking maybe it's about traveling, having a Gucci bag, owning an RS3. No, about having certain things. It can end up transcending human essence and having more meaning than having people who love you, who care about you, and who support you unconditionally. And that kind of love is only found within the family unit. It doesn't exist outside. It doesn't exist. No.
That's true because it is. It's one of the greatest. And taking care of it, you have to take great care of it, even more. If the family has given everything for you, even taking the bread out of their own mouths to give it to their children,
Kalam, man, you are an admirable person and I would like to talk to you. Right now, in a fight, an Arab person,
And I'm not.
I don't want people to confuse me representing Christianity. I represent Catholicism with hatred towards outsiders. That's something I have to be very responsible about, and I want to make it clear that it's not like that at all. And I also want to send a message to all those people who follow me and to all those Arab people from North Africa, from Egypt, from wherever, from all over the world. Here you may find a place, but it's time to speak out against what you see with your own eyes. And I would like to ask you directly, do you receive support from your countrymen even while also facing hate?
Not as much as I would like.
Do you want more support from your people?
Of course, I would like that. It should be the complete opposite. It has to be an absolute majority. And what do you think that's about?
What do you think causes the lack of public support from your fellow countrymen for your work?
Because I honestly think that they believe, as many have told me in messages, that you will never be one of them. They put it that way, you'll never be one of them. What does it mean to be one of them? Even if you defend, let's say, Spanish society.
So doesn't that message make you see? People like me have a very strong criticism against the discourse that says within a society there can't be an us and a them. There's the us, we all are part of this. You are one of mine because you want the same thing I do. Under no circumstances can it be them and us. And look, I'm not just focusing on the Moroccan Spanish issue, the left and the right. I mean heterosexuals and homosexuals, black people and white people. There has to be a common interest among all of us who live here for this country to do well. And when there are so many Maghrebis here saying you'll never be one of them, it already implies that there's a them and there's an us. Is that really positive for society?
No, definitely not positive. But I also have to say, to be fair, that society doesn't really make an effort to make them feel like one of us either. I've never felt like one of them. I've never felt like just another Spaniard, and I've never felt like just another member of society, not for a moment. I've earned it through hard work because I had no other choice. I love Spain and I love living here, and I can't imagine living anywhere else but Madrid. My mind just doesn't consider that option. No, Spain, everything. But that's the thing. Other people don't feel this part because they've never experienced it. For example, Moroccans suffer a lot of bullying.
No, right now I don't really believe that anymore. I think maybe in your time it could have been true. Nowadays there are more Moroccans here.
Of course,
Naturally, more Moroccans than Spaniards at the school.
back in my day, I suffered a lot. Yes, Moroccans were bullied a lot and they were marginalized, etc., etc., etc. Imagine a child raised that way. How will you tell him later that he's just one of many, that we're all equal here? He won't be able to understand it. Yes, of course, now we're all equal. But when I was a kid, I wasn't one of you at school because you all played soccer together. All the Spaniards played soccer, or all the Spaniards with the Latinos, and I was left alone.
But I also think that happens in Latin American communities. They also sometimes feel a bit excluded, right?
Not so much, because the Latinos, let's say the Spaniards support the Latinos a lot.
I'm Latino. I mean, I hate the word Latino.
I don't know if you knew, but it's Latino and I'm Hispanic.
That's it, man. Well said. Damn, fuck. Latino is Spanish, Italian, yes.
Of course, the Romans, but of course they support Hispanics a lot because, like I said, they support them because it's the same language, the same culture, the same religion, but that's wrong.
That's incorrect. It's normal in the end, but be careful. It's yes. But look, I'm not saying that discrimination should happen, but at the end of the day, it's still something natural everywhere. And mind you, it's not exclusive to Spain. It's not exclusive to Europe. It's not exclusive to white people. It happens everywhere. If you go to China as a European, you're also going to get your share of stares. Like, look at you, look at you. The other day, a girl posted that she was on a Chinese beach and people were walking by with their phones like, what the heck is she doing here? So, am I justifying it? No, I'm just trying to explain. Explaining is not justifying, just to be clear. And honestly, we really could do some work so that everyone could integrate a little better because I see society as very divided, man.
It's pretty divided. Yeah, really divided. And like I said, it's something natural. Of course, it's natural. But what's natural isn't always what's right, right? It's not always what's right because you For example, a lady is walking down the street and she sees a black man on a dark street. Maybe that black man has millions of euros in his pocket and doesn't need to steal. And still, she's afraid of him. She feels this way or that way.
But I'm going to tell you something, Karam, and here you're going to agree with me on this. I don't think it has so much to do with skin color, but rather with classism. And let me explain it to you. Right now, since you have experience with crime, because you deal with it up close, you basically handle it on a daily basis. You see a black person in an abandoned train station at 12:30 a.m. as you wait for the last train. It's just you and him, then three black men in suits arrive, take out their laptops, and start working. You don't think anything of it, like maybe they're lawyers or who knows, ambassadors, who knows. Now, if you see those same three people, same faces, same appearance, but instead of wearing suits, they're wearing saggy pants, flat-brimmed caps backwards, and brightly colored scarves, you immediately think they're a gang. Also, the way you present yourself to the world is how the world is going to perceive you, just like when you see a Hispanic person dressed in a shirt and loafers. You don't think anything of it, but if you see that same Hispanic person, or a group of Hispanic people, the same people, but dressed with flat-brimmed caps and so on, and the perception you have of them is a sense of alertness. Do I make myself clear? I also think it's not so much about a person of color, it's not so much about a Hispanic person, it's not so much about a Moroccan person, it's about how these people dress and present themselves to the world. Seeing a Moroccan after work isn't the same as seeing one in a PSG tracksuit listening to Morad at the train station. The perception and the sense of alertness are completely different.
Of course, of course.
I don't know if you agree with what I just said. Yes.
Yes, of course, of course. The way you present yourself to the world, obviously, is how people usually see you. But I just don't see it. For example, if I see a person, like you say, with music or this or that, and another one in a suit, I see them the same way. Why? Because I've experienced it firsthand and I've lived it myself. So, of course, when you experience it firsthand, it's not the same as other people who haven't lived it. Firsthand, for example, someone else, if they see a person with their pants sagging or wearing caps or chains or whatever, dressed like that, and maybe they can classify them like, well, this one must be a better person or must have more money, and this one must be more of a gangster. Me, for example, I don't really see it that way. I don't see it since I've met people in suits who are much worse than people with chains. And with music and with,
Like I say,
or
I completely agree with you.
it also depends on each person's experience.
But what does the scammer do? He presents himself as elegant. Why? To lower your guard. And that's how he gets you. It doesn't mean that how you present yourself to the world is a reflection of who you really are, but it does mean that a lady holding on to her purse does so because she sees a pattern that repeats itself. Guys on Las Ramblas in Barcelona who steal often dress alike, forming a new urban tribe with similar clothing. If you dress like these people, others will likely feel uneasy when you're walking behind them. It's just pure,
It's just that for me, many times they've stolen my purse and maybe I'm walking and a lady is in front of me and she's scared, turning around, and I've had to cross to the other side of the street and I haven't
do other Venezuelans feel this too?
seen
Does this also happen to you in Hispanic America?
and I don't dress like a typical Moroccan. I don't have the face of a normal Moroccan nor the accent. No, because you know I'm Moroccan. But people on the street, no, they don't say I'm Moroccan. They tell me I'm gypsy.
Like a gypsy?
Hey, I could call you gypsy. Gypsy, yes. And I don't have a Moroccan accent.
No, you, of course.
I don't have a Moroccan accent. I don't dress like a Moroccan. I don't walk around with saggy pants. I don't go with, and still, you notice it. You notice it, like I said. It's normal, and it also happens because of what others are doing. Because if, of course, you live in a country where others aren't doing bad things, there won't be that prejudice of lumping everyone together.
What solution is there to put an end to these prejudices? Which I understand nowadays, but at the end of the day, it's true that many times the innocent pay for the guilty, and we have to be responsible and send a message of unity. You, as a Moroccan, and on top of that, a Moroccan who could be considered part of the far-right sphere, even if you're not actually far-right, but unfortunately that's how you're labeled. Of course. Why? Because you defend private property. A big mistake. So the leftists must hate you too, right?
Quite a lot. And a lot of people wrote to me, calling me a Nazi, calling me this and that.
Now it's Karam the Nazi. Unbelievable.
Please, I'm Moroccan, my right-hand man is Senegalese, and my left-hand man is Venezuelan.
Well, look at you, of course.
It sounds like a joke, man.
Damn.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
But then, man, as a Moroccan immigrant, what solution do you offer to end these prejudices that still exist today?
The thing is, having prejudices is human.
Well, to help people feel more at ease or to calm the population from this state of panic and constant alert about immigrants.
For example, if someone commits a crime, they should go back to their own country. Everyone. I mean, I'm not talking about undocumented people. I'm not referring to undocumented immigrants seeking work and a better future. Not those. These people come here to endure hardship and take jobs no one else wants, facing humiliation just to support their families and seek a better future. I'm referring to those who come here to commit crimes. If you come here to steal, or you come here to rob, or you come here to kill, go back to your country.
Yes, even if you come here to work and end up doing that, leave.
To your country. No, no, no. Whether you work or not, if you do that, go back to your country. To your country. And I think that way, I think the country will be better. But of course, this can't be allowed. For stealing from a lady, knocking her down, taking her purse, and 3 days later they're out. Yes.
Unfortunately, that's what happens.
No, that can't be allowed. For example, in Morocco, if they catch you with a knife like that,
And they give you 10 years.
10 years?
It's outrageous.
10 years in prison. I mean,
Mind you, when it comes to Morocco, I hate the Moroccan government, but because of the conflicting interests they have with Spain. Ultimately, they're handling crime, infrastructure, taxes, and entrepreneurship fairly well internally. If you look at Morocco's internal actions, you think, damn, Morocco isn't doing such a bad job if it wants the country to prosper. On the other hand, here in Spain, you see what we're doing and it's total leniency toward crime. So, what do you get? You end up creating a paradise for criminals. Here, you can squat in a house, start a marijuana grow, and at worst spend a month in jail before being released to do it again. It just keeps happening over and over with no real consequences. And on top of that, the prisons are like hotels. Many people actually prefer being in prison because you get 3 meals a day, you have a gym. No, really, you have courses, while before they were out on the street in the cold. What sense does this make? People might even say, look, I feel like having sex. Maybe I go and rape someone, they put me inside, and that's what I wanted, that's what I was looking for. It just can't be like this.
the laws have to be much tougher. That's clear.
And the prisons?
No, no, of course. If the laws are tough, the prisons will be too. But everything has to be tougher so that the criminal doesn't feel like he can do whatever he wants, that at most he'll just get arrested, or at most he'll end up in prison. If I'm going to go there with my friends, to be with my friends, we stick together, we eat, we work out, and then we come out like bulls. No.
No, and often they leave prison worse off, having earned a master's degree in crime while inside.
Of course, so prison has to be tough. They must be there and treated like rats, because that's what they are.
Yes, rats have to be treated like rats. Obviously, they're not going to be treated like kings. Man, I'm interested. I want you to tell me a little more and go deeper into an anecdote. Karam,
Man,
tell the audience about the shooting. How did this shootout happen?
the shootout occurred when we visited a house. We knocked at the house and some people came out. I don't want to mention their nationality because, well,
Come on, mention it. Go ahead.
no, not for now. For now, I'm not going to mention their nationality.
Colombia?
No, it was that there were two houses attached, but of course they defended each other, they protected each other. So some were of one nationality and others were of another.
Come on, you don't have to.
Tell us. Some were Roma and others were Colombian.
It's just that when I heard gunshots, it's just, man, I know the drill, man. I heard gunshots and I said, whoo, that sounds familiar to me. Of course, Colombians are quick on the trigger.
So the ones who started it were the gypsies. Yeah, right? So we go and I knock on the father's door. I say, hey, you've been here for 10 years taking someone else's property. He says, yeah, what about my remaining years? I tell him, no, not the years you have left because Comando Desokupa is already here. I tell him, the years you have left, right? I tell him, we're already here. He says to me, really? He tells me to wait, he's coming down. That was from the window. Oh, the one who came in. She came out with the gun, bang, 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 shooting. Shooting, man, imagine that.
But shooting at you guys.
Of course, just imagine that, you're in shock. You don't know, you don't even know what's happening. When you picture someone saying to you, yeah, completely calmly. The person wasn't even stressed, wasn't even angry, No, they just say to you, yes, well, wait, I'm coming down now. He entered and began shooting at you from the window. He started shooting. We were hiding behind the cars. I was hiding behind a wall. The Colombian neighbors pulled theirs out too and started shooting. Imagine, a friend of mine, thank God, they hit his cuff, not his head. They shot him in the back. Of course, from then on, if you look at my videos, at first I didn't wear a vest, and then I started wearing one. That step you're talking about,
That was because of that experience.
of course, you say that's weird, not because I wear a vest to feel like a cop, but because something happened that made me realize I need to take better care of myself now, since it could happen again.
And stabbings, man, in what circumstances have they happened?
Stabbings can occur during fights or arguments, or someone might stab you from behind. When I was stabbed in the back, I didn't even feel it. How long have you been with this occupant? We've been with this occupant for about 2.5 years or so.
In 2.5 years, you've been shot at and faced multiple stabbing attempts.
2.5 years, and we've already done evictions elsewhere. But of course, it's been about a year or so since we created Comando Desokupa. Now, Comando Desokupa belongs to me and my partner.
What legal solution could prevent these situations from happening?
Anyone who doesn't have a deed to the house should be out on the street. If you don't have the title to the house, the police have to come, but the police are also tied hand and foot.
Exactly, that's how I understand it. You give it to the police.
You change it. The police are powerless, saying, sure, I'll remove him, but I'm risking my job. I'll go, but if I take him out and he complains, a judge could get involved. The problem is mine. No one is going to risk their job for someone else. So you say, well, let's let the law and the government do their job. Like I said, many times the police are also tied hand and foot. They don't know what to do. Like I said, they've been occupying the house for an hour. 1 hour. Then the police officer shows up and he gets told, no, I've been here 3-4 days, even a week. And maybe they show him a fake receipt. And the police officer can't do anything. Deep down, the police officer knows it's only a matter of time, but he can't act. With the evidence, filing a report and going to court would get him in trouble. So, like I said, the law should change. Anyone who doesn't have a title to the property should be out on the street.
But as far as I understand, it's more of a procedural issue and slowness. Because the law works, but it's just very slow. I mean, it's an issue with the courts.
That it does work, right? Even if it's not fast. Even if it's fast, I squat in your apartment, I squat in an apartment. Even if you file a complaint and it moves quickly, it still takes 3 months. After 3 months, I file another appeal, or I present a fake contract. After that, the judge has to look at it, then wait another 6 to 8 months. After that, more appeals follow. And more appeals follow. And more appeals follow. And how long do you spend? How long do you spend? 2, 3 years? 4 years in a house? Well, then on to the next one. And so on and so on and so on and so on. What it's like to live in an apartment without paying anything while the owner suffers for 3 years. It's a blessing for one side and awful for the owner. So either way, even if it goes fast, the process is the same.
Do you think the squatting situation has gotten worse?
Yes, of course, there's much more ahead.
So, you don't see a short-term solution?
In the short term, no. And now even less so with the regularization of all the immigrants. It's going to get worse, much worse.
Are you against it?
I'm not against it, but I'm also not completely in favor. I'm not either, because everyone needs documentation to be able to work with dignity, to aspire to things other than working in a crappy job. Putting up with your boss humiliating you so you don't get fired.
Crappy job, unfortunately, doesn't go away, or you won't get access to better job opportunities just because you have the papers. Spaniards don't have access to decent jobs.
Believe me, especially with kids.
That's the thing, it's complicated.
Believe me, there are even worse jobs. There are worse jobs. Jobs where you're treated poorly, make 30 euros a day and work 12-hour shifts, earning 30 euros. Why? Because you don't have papers. Enduring humiliation, disrespect, and insults. Why? Because you lack papers. You wonder, if I leave, where will I go? What do I prefer? I prefer to keep my head down, and at least I'm earning 30 euros instead of earning nothing. But when a person has papers, they're more demanding about what they choose and what they take. So, of course, when someone has papers, they tell you, no, no, I'm not going to take this job. And obviously, there will be better jobs and better salaries. Of course, bad people also come along. And those bad people will probably also squat in apartments. They become squatters. Squatters.
It's such a complex issue, man. I wish there could be a simple solution. But the solutions I see are radical and they're going to hurt people. For example, you like Bukele, right? Yes. Bukele has fixed the country, but at the cost of hurting innocent people. People don't take this into account. I'm just
But for a greater good,
common good. Sure, I understand. A greater good. But at the end of the day, here in Spain, if we want a Bukele, we're going to have to accept that people we really like, who might be awesome, will have to leave Spain. They'll have to go. I mean, here, no.
because the person who listens,
Involved a percentage. In a percentage, careful, I'm not going to say that, but Bukele has also swept innocent people up in it.
but they belong, everyone belongs to something. Even if they did it,
But they belong to it. No, no. Some people have been jailed just for speaking or having a certain relative.
because they defend them, they defend them. The relatives of the ones they've locked up defend them and hide them.
But the point isn't a criticism of Bukele. The point is more of an analysis. It's the problem. Yes, of course. The solution is more radical. And this solution sometimes takes people down with it. And that's what we have to be willing to accept. Are we willing to fix this the way it needs to be done? Well, we also have to be willing to accept that a lot of people are going to be run over by this change. In the long run, look, Salvador, if we implemented half of what El Salvador has done, in 4 years we would be a world power. Again. Literally. Now then. At what cost? I'm willing to make that sacrifice. Many people aren't, and I understand that, but you have to know that behind the great process happening in El Salvador, there's one hell of an iron fist. Unquestionable. It doesn't matter. You had contact with a gang member, even if it was your brother. You spoke with him and all that. To jail. That's it. It's been tough. And you can question his methods, but not the results. The results.
Recently, a video came out of a girl who went to El Salvador, and she says that now the streets are much safer there than here.
Safer. La Rambla in Barcelona is more dangerous nowadays, especially at night. Who would have said this 8 years ago?
Just imagine El Salvador. Imagine that.
In El Salvador, we had maras, bad people. Bad. A terrible climate of violence, already part of the culture and deeply ingrained, man. So it's complicated.
Yeah, things are complicated, but we have to try to find the best solution.
Absolutely.
The best solution both for immigrants who come here to commit crimes and for squatting. The thing is, squatting is an issue, yes.
It's a very sensitive issue. It worries me because even if it doesn't seem like it, it makes the rental market much more rigid, much more complicated.
But well, there is a solution for squatting that not many people know about. What is it? Hiring Comando Desokupa.
You're awesome, man. Hey, to wrap up, do you feel like commenting on that?
Absolutely. It's one of the things I'm really looking forward to this year.
You follow Greenfield and Cesar, right?
Yeah.
Damn, man. Honestly, how do you view the fights?
I see the fights as even. Pretty even and good.
They're all even. Now I'll ask you the question. Who do you think will win, Juicy Allen or Gaps?
Let's go for gaps.
For Gaps. Luis the Chosen One or Ernesto El Potro in boxing with smaller gloves? El Potro. Yes, you're sure about that. El Potro. Why?
That man is really tough. He's tough. His hands they are
Powerful. But Luis has done King of the Streets, Ever Knuckle. He's tough too. They're tough. That's a great fight. Come on, Joda or Omar Shoke?
It depends. I have to test both of them. I think from what I've seen, Jota takes it easily, yeah.
I mean, me, Joda is me, you sons of bitches, okay? Father Chuli or El Feroz? This one's tough because watch out.
Father Chuli, careful.
He's lightning fast. There's none like him.
Careful. Father Chuli may seem like it, but no, be careful.
You see, Father Chuli cracked the whip and that guy moves fast.
Careful.
El Feroz, and I understand he's got great stamina too. I mean, the guy's got an insane pace. My biggest challenge is having that level of cardio. 3 minutes non-stop, Julio.
But El Feroz is a warrior, but I think Padre Chuli will take it.
Padre Chuli. Okay. Oriol, Respeto Arenas, Jorge Jesus, Helio Embank. This is MMA. It's a top-level MMA fight, an amazing MMA fight. I don't have that one. Other promoters want to steal this fight from me. Watch out, that fight is insane. I don't have that one. I've done all the matchmaking myself. I mean, I'm the matchmaker. And it's a hell of a fight, man.
I don't have it yet. I don't have it. I'd call it a tie for now. A tie.
Me too. I won't risk it there. I really won't risk it there. Oriol is a warrior, respect, honor, and Helio is pure power. You have no idea how much. Yes.
You never know what he's going to come at you with, and on top of that, it's an MMA fight.
Yes.
An MMA fight.
Both are great on the ground. It's a very tough fight. Team leader or Mark Stark?
Mark Stark, I saw him in person. That guy is huge.
He's huge. He's a real gorilla.
He's huge, but I think the team leader is a bit craftier.
Yeah, right? Well, team leader. Josie Sakpe or Rafael Cayman?
And Diaz, well, Josie.
Then I have Dieguito Nunez left, but we still don't have Dieguito's opponent because they all drop out. Dieguito is 100% a boxer, right? My sensei.
Hey, damn, in the next event, I'm fighting.
100%?
It depends on when it is.
We have to organize it.
Well, give me a little time and I'll fight at 90.
Yeah, right? You feel like getting into that whole fighting thing. You competed in each one, right? Yeah, you were the European champion.
Spanish champion and European champion.
I mean, it's no small thing. See? That's what I wanted to ask you because, of course, to be with you, you need to have at least some self-defense knowledge when it comes to clearing people out or be a big or imposing guy. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But here's the thing. My sport isn't really like, for example, MMA or jiu-jitsu where you can subdue a person.
No, it's pure death. A striker is death and destruction. You can't just put him on the pads. No.
You can't just put him in there. What I do is pure striking. You see a lot of holds and groundwork, which helps. But if things get complicated, you have to get out.
You have to.
You got to start throwing hands.
Pam.
You got to start throwing hands.
You got to start throwing hands.
But yes, I'll fight in the next event.
Well, gentlemen, let me know in the comments if you want Karam to fight in the next event.
You can put me against whoever you want.
Whoever I want?
Whoever you want, yes. Boxing, no difference. Boxing or MMA, whoever you want.
MMA too?
Whoever you want. It doesn't matter. Damn.
Maybe we'll put you against a tough guy. Let's see, Esdrak or Bad News, come on.
It doesn't matter.
All right, let's do it. It doesn't matter.
Karam, you can put whoever you want. I can handle it easily.
Karam, man, it's been a huge pleasure analyzing the event and hearing about all your experiences. I really admire your work and I admire you as a person too. You're a great guy.
Thank you very much. And well,
I wish you great success. And ideally, your company would no longer be needed because the problem is solved. I say this to everyone. Hopefully your work becomes unnecessary. That's normal. I know that for many people, you are superheroes. So that's it. For anyone watching who needs help, how can they contact you?
well, you'll find our social media and our website below, and you can contact us with no obligation. Ask us about any problem, and we'll let you know how we can help. Remember, you're the boss at home.
Well, that's all for today, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Lots of stories, lots of little things, and you already know that if you want to contact Karam, you have his social media here. Karam will also commentate Chaos Fight Night. The link is in the description, and his social media is in the pinned comment. So that's it, gentlemen. Until next time.